I want to win. And if I don't win, I ain't giving up.
Started his business from nothing, that was 2018. Came top salesman in the country, multiple times had a dream. He would scale up his company and train thousands of people. Give you knowledge and teach you, don't let the problems defeat you. Launching Profit Rocket.
Welcome to the Profit Rocket Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Rancour. Today we have another exciting guest. As you know, in this series, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be covering people that have not only started businesses in the last couple of years, but grown them out of control. And my guest today is another one of those guys that's in a market where it might be tough for some people, and people say, I can't be done here. Well, he's been able to do it, and he's been able to do it on a large scale. Mr. Sam Matsuk, welcome to the podcast, brother.
What's up, Victor? Thanks for having me, brother.
Awesome. So Sam is the CEO and founder of Topline Heating and Air up in Lancaster, PA. He's grown this business from nothing. I mean, how long has it been in business for? 3 years now?
Yeah, we're just finishing up our third year here. So we started in 2020 of March.
So in March 2020, you guys know what was going on in March 2020? I feel like there was something big happened there. I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, that was during the middle of COVID. So you decided you're gonna take have an entrepreneurial seizure and start a business in the dead middle of COVID. How did that feel?
To be honest, I had no idea that was coming. It was just one of those things. I was just in that moment, I felt like I had to start. So I just went, and then that COVID, I thought it was small, but it turned into this. I didn't know it was going to turn into that whole pandemic.
Dude, I still remember because like beginning of March, I was going into my second year in business. And I remember beginning of March, my marketing people were like, oh, let's do this radio, got the deal on this shit. Dude, I dumped all my money into like marketing, and then all of a sudden the phones went to nothing. You know what I mean? So I get that. That's for sure. And I still remember I was actually on a private jet with Ken Goodrich heading to the Super Bowl. And that was the beginning of February. And I still remember we're sitting on the jet and we're drinking Coronas and we're laughing about the coronavirus. Like nobody knew it was like that big of a deal then. Like, oh, we're drinking the coronavirus. And I still remember joking about it. And I still remember being at the Super Bowl and everybody was joking about it there about the coronavirus coming. And then actually, you know, in hindsight, they said that Super Bowl was actually like one of the super spreader events. And I think when I left there, I was sick for like 3 weeks, coughing, dying. So I might have been the spreader of that, brought it back to California. So anyway, so you started this business in March 2020. What is your revenue now since then?
So last year we closed off at 11.5. The first 6 months we did 1.8. Then we did 5.5. So you're looking at just a little over 16, 17 million since we started.
So 16, 17 million since you started in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic. So, you know, first off, congratulations. And that's not normal growth for most people, but especially in your market, man. So like, you know, you're not in a market where it's like Arizona or California where people have a lot of air conditioning already. You guys got a lot of boilers and things along those lines there. Has that been a challenge for you guys or how's that been?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely been a challenge now that I look at it. But going into it, I didn't know. I come from a commercial background, so I didn't even come from residential HVAC. All I knew is I'm starting this business and let's make money. And then from there, I just worked with what I had. And then after meeting all these people, I realized, holy crap, we have so many variables. But going into it, bro, it's just like anything else, figuring out, and we just knocked it out one step at a time.
So obviously starting out from a commercial background, now you're going and starting a residential heating and air conditioning company. And you guys are primarily residential, correct?
100% residential, yeah.
100% residential. So now you're coming from a background you don't know. You're coming from the commercial side. Now you're coming into dealing with homeowners. What made you make that jump? Like normally people like they're going to go after what they already know, right? Like I already know commercial. I'm going to go do commercial.
The main reason is in the commercial space. What I've seen is it's a lot of like relationship based. So it's like where you have relationships, you go with these businesses and you try to win them. What I saw with residential, it's people buying people. So right away I knew that it's going to be a faster transaction or a faster point of, for me, what I believe was a faster point of sale at the time. So I was like, hey, and commercial and residential is easy. You know, you're not dealing with these big rack systems. You're dealing with a couple wires of control voltage, low voltage, and it's just a change out. It's not much compared to commercial.
Yeah, I mean, but the other part is the dealing with customers, right? Like going from a commercial where it's like you just go in, fix it, you just deal with a property manager or whatever you're dealing with, and now you're got to deal with homeowners, right? And you're in people's houses and that stuff. How was that kind of transition for you?
To me, it was kind of naturally, Vic, I'd say. The reason is I've always been, for the most part, like a people person, especially when I get to know someone. Like that's like my like who I am as a naturally. I want to talk. I'm naturally that type of person that wants to be around people. With the commercial space, you're dealing like I was doing with working with out here. We have milk tanks, so we have milk farms. We're working with farmers, just different things along those lines. So it's not the best kind of relationship. So going into it, actually caring about customers, actually naturally for me, I enjoyed that. And when there was an issue, I wanted to resolve it because that's who like that's naturally I wanted to take care of it. Of course, there's criteria and lines for that, but for the most part, that was kind of my focus as a person. I wanted to take care of people.
That's awesome. So you jumped into it, and people always ask, like, dude, how'd you start your business? How'd you get customers? You want to kind of dive in a little bit on how you went from nothing, nobody knows you, to starting to get that first customer.
Yeah. So, um, actually, this actually it's funny. So what I did right away, I wanted to see how I could stand out as a company. I knew that I had to stand out. So I started looking for marketing companies and some sort. So I created my Google first day, dude. I had a uniform. I had Google My Business already created, launched out, all these little things that were free. Getting out there on, I think I was on Nextdoor, just whatever I could right now. I created my profiles, Facebook, everywhere that I could. I created a profile, and I let people know that I was getting into HVAC business. So from there, my very first client, believe it or not, was a Google search. Someone that searched HVAC near me, and they found that I was right around the corner. That was my first job that I landed.
You want to know something funny is that people have been in business for 10 years and still can't get people to find them on Google. It's kind of it's kind of embarrassing, man. I talk to some of these guys like I never get Google calls. I'm like, dude, like this it's not that complicated. You just have to, it's like anything else. You feed it and it's going to come back to you. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that's rare. I mean, for me, I obviously every contractor has their own path and everybody has their own path and story. But like for us, like it was never like Google was like an afterthought when I started my business, which if I was to start over, like it would be like number one, like we got to get my website, my SEO, my GMB, my map packs, all that stuff dialed in first. Where I did it the opposite. Like my big thing was obviously social media, networking, and things like that is kind of how I grew my business. And you want to talk a little bit about that? So like even for me, when I started my business, I was really heavy on Facebook ads, stuff like that,
So
and
we
and that's
were
where we got a business.
So that was just my first job because I thought that's what you asked. But yeah, really, the growth I'll give it credit to has been social media, just like you. It's been that call to action, fast, like you show up. Those types of leads is what brand. We're just kind of getting ourselves known. Um, but it was just honestly, I think it was just luck that we got the first lead job from Google. Because after that, I don't know how many jobs we got from there. Because it was just one of those. It was just luck of the moment. Actually, it was nice that it happened because I was like talking to my wife. I was like, "Babe, I'm gonna go." And then she's like, "Well, how are you gonna get work?" I was like, "Well, we'll see." So I created Google and we got a job. But see, it's that easy.
It's
That's what I
it's
said.
easy.
Right there it is. Yeah, but from there, no, we ended up. I ended up hiring a marketing agency, and then we ended up blowing up with Facebook, Vic. Just like what you were saying, that's literally what I use: Facebook and social media. To this day, actually, we just started really diverting our marketing towards other avenues.
Which is crazy because, like, obviously, when you started or when I started, like, Facebook was a whole different ball game because obviously the targeting and how you can get in front of people was completely different. I mean, the leads were so damn cheap, and obviously you have to know how to convert them, right? And like that was the big thing with us is like people are like, "Oh, Facebook leads are shit," and I'm like, "Yeah, they're shit if your process is shit and your conversion is shit." Like, yeah, but if you give me at that point, dude, leads were like freaking $7 to $10 a lead or something like that on Facebook. And I'm like, dude, I'll run through the shit all day and find some gold, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how we were able to grow our business because I can get cheap leads. I got guys that know how to sell it. I got dogs that can get in the house and make deals. And that's kind of what we did to be able to grow our business too. So, I mean, obviously more power to you. So you start up in March 2020. You said, what'd you end up at your those first 6 months? About 1.8 million?
1.8, yeah, just about 1.8. Yep.
1.8 million. And the makeup of that was, is that I know you guys don't do as many like central systems like we do in California. You guys are doing primarily mini splits and stuff like that, right?
So at that first time when the marketing was different, we were getting a lot of change out leads. So the mini split market wasn't there. Well, it wasn't at like the gold mine for us because at that time we didn't have no service tip or nothing. All we did is ran free estimates and did that. So that was, I mean, we did a lot of change outs then. We were, closing ratio wasn't good, but we were able to just, keep it flowing, and just kind of did whatever we could. And that's how we got a lot of those change out leads. So yeah, we were definitely doing a lot of change outs there. But it has shifted since a little bit. So.
Well, I mean, I know we were talking out when I was out in Florida, and you still said that most of your business is from replacement leads rather than in like my business, right, is primarily service to replacement, where yours is primarily estimate to replacement, and obviously installation. You want to talk a little bit about that? And I know a lot of people are listening and they're like, dude, Sam, how big is your service department? Not very big, right?
No, we're only doing it now. Yeah.
And how big do you think you're going to be? How many million do you think you're going to do this year?
We're budgeting for 18 million.
So 18 million in year 3 without a service department, really, which is kind of crazy. And we were all kind of laughing about it. And then we were sitting around the table and everybody's like, oh, you got to build a service department. And we're like, why? Service is a fucking headache sometimes, right? Like if you can get the sale, you can get the revenue, you can get the profits from replacement. Like, why do you want to do service? And really think about it, it's a headache. Is it a necessary evil, right? Like as you scale, you want to start adding that service department. It's going to be obviously it's going to be very lucrative too. But you want to talk about that too? Like, have you had struggles with the service department, or what's made you really just lean in on this side?
So, what really was when we started, one of my partners is Lyle, and his mindset was we got to get to the result the fastest. And his is like, if we can get to a free estimate as fast as we could, or to a system replacement, let's try that. So we kind of and that's kind of where I knew. And from there, we just developed and we kept sharpening that process. How do we, I was studying, how do people how do I text this person that they answer faster, that they want this system without like hurting them or making them stop responding. So I was studying the communication along the way, which method worked, how many outbounds do I do? If I call them 5 times in a row versus 2 times in a row. And what I did is I focused on really that customer experience from that point of lead generation to the point of booking really hard and consistently improved that process and simplified it, but to get the same result. And that has been our, I guess, key point in managing the current leads that we're generating to keep, because those people are shopping, they're on the market, they're usually price shoppers. But no, I knew that if I can get them on the board, that we can, there's a good chance we'll close them.
Yeah, and a lot of people, the same thing is, and you guys are listening to this, is like you get a lead, you call it, they don't answer, and you say, "Oh shucks, they didn't answer the lead sucks." And a lot of times it's like, yeah, they don't answer right away, but like for us, like, dude, I'll shotgun dial those motherfuckers. I will call them until they're blue in the face, until they give me a yes or a no. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I had a buddy of mine, he worked for a big company, and everybody knows the big company out in Vegas, Arizona. And he was running their big box for them, right? And they had the Home Depot leads, and the Home Depot leads come in, and obviously, Home Depot leads aren't the best leads on the planet, but they come in and you got to treat them with it. And that phone room, and anybody that's ever been successful in this industry knows that the phone room is the most important part. And his phone room, he's like, dude, I was in this phone room and I was the manager, and we called this person 29 times. He's like, that was a record times that we called somebody within a 1 week period, and we actually booked the call. He said it took 29 phone calls, and he's like, that's how serious that this guy is, big name guy. And I think it was Mr. Goodrich. Mr. Goodrich was so serious about booking every freaking appointment and not leaving any lead behind, that they called him 29 times to book that call. They got out there, and I think it was, I don't know what happened with the call, but it doesn't matter. It's the science behind it. It's the thought behind it that lead matters, and you can't allow it to fall through the cracks just because he didn't answer. Like, you already paid for it. And that customer filled out their information. At some point, they were interested in what you had to offer, and you have to be relentless to it. And I think that's kind of what you're saying you're doing, is that you guys have built a process where you guys are relentless to those leads and really nurturing them. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, always nurturing them.
Tom with Profit Rocket here, guys. And as you know, we have our Growth Summit coming up this September, the 27th through 29th in Austin, Texas. We got influencers like Andy Elliott, Sean Crane, Marcus Luttrell, and a host of other individuals who are not only the best public speakers, the best motivators, but the best business owners in the country, coming to you live from our event in Austin, Texas. Right now, if you sign up between now and April 15th, you get access to our in-home presentation book from Absolute Airflow. This right here shows you exactly how our service techs and comfort advisors run every single one of their sales calls so you can run them like we do at Absolute Airflow. In addition to that, guys, you get $200 off every single ticket you purchase between now and April 15th. Just use code PROFIT200 at checkout and it'll take $200 off your total ticket value. All right, guys, we'll see y'all in Austin.
Yeah. So, well, now you got this business, you're growing. Obviously, you know, as like anybody else does, like you got to go through some growing pains, and you want to talk a little bit about some of the struggles you guys had to go through. Obviously, growing a business, and this is something we'll talk about, you know, in these podcasts, these next couple episodes is, dude, growing a business fast isn't fucking cheap, dude. It is hard. It is stressful. It is like you are going to get consumed by that shit. You want to talk a little bit about being consumed by that and how you felt some days and stuff like that, so people realize that they're not alone on this stuff.
Yeah. So right off the bat, as soon as it started, like kind of getting that first vision, and like, because really at first it was like, I'm just gonna be my own guy, just make some money. But then I ended up working 12 hours, 16 hours a day. And so I told my wife, I said, it's going to take us 2 to 5 years to like maybe do anything. And I just focused in the first year. And I kid you not, I mean, some of the things we went through, just like anyone else, is we went through turnover. You know what I mean? Wrong hires. I mean, I'd hire whatever. You'd come in. I remember the one hire we had. I mean, I got the complaint that he's laying on the neighbor's driveway or something, tanning in the middle of the day. Like, just these are the types of hires I had at first. Without
That's kind of hot. Hey. Hey, you can make a commercial out of that and be like, hey, do you want to go with the guy that's going to suntan in your driveway, or you want to go with Topline? You know.
But this is the kind of people, like, we were just kind of bringing on people. But that has taught me. It has taught me that I was, you know, what it has created, like these understandings how to hire people, how to treat people, how to, you know, grow people, and then from there, as far as a cash standpoint, we I didn't really put any money into it. I just was disciplined myself to not take any money out. Just literally reinvested my money back into business. I mean, I made less than I made as a technician for the first few years. And the thing is a lot of people don't understand it. It's the discipline of just realizing that I'm going all in, and with the goal to eventually long-term win. But when you're in it, like, you don't understand it. There's so much, like, you have that money coming, you're like, oh, I could spend it, or I'd go buy another van. I'd go buy, because I couldn't get loans at the time. I had no business credit, so I had to buy vans cash. Well, what's happening with the car market at that time? It's going up, right? So we have to wrap them. You have to wrap the vans. Well, I didn't know how to bid on wraps at the time, so I'm paying this full price to wrap these vans that I didn't know what it was to compete, reduce my costs. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I was spending top dollar for everything while trying to grow so fast. So that definitely did add up. I mean, it taught me to want to know my numbers. What is my cash flow? It taught me how to leverage. I mean, have a sit down with vendors, have a real man-to-man conversation. I remember having my first convo with my vendor, and we're sitting at the table, and he's like, what are you going to do? I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. He's like, Sam, we've heard, you know, so many people that wanted to do this, but no one did it. I said, dude, I'll do this. Just watch. I need this from you. I need this kind of credit line. This is what I need, but it's going to help me do this so that I can add this guy, add another van to do this, and I'll get you guys the result. Just give me some sort of terms. And then, you know, they started asking, like, your typical vendor would, like, give me your credentials, financials, like what's your top line, what's your bottom line revenue, dude. I didn't even know what top line or bottom line revenue meant at the time. That's how newbie I was. But at that time, the thing is, when I was talking to these vendors, I asked them, well, why the heck would you guys, like, later on, I'm like, why would you guys go with something? They're like, well, there's something that you carried, was like the vision and passion that we kind of just wanted. Like, we haven't seen this, someone this young wanted so passionately grow a company. And then that you just kept, like, when we confronted you with things, you kind of like took it and actually received it and went and did your homework to bring us a solution. That showed us that you were, like, truly engaged. And they, like, that was one of the things I remember. really being real, but at the same time realizing that you don't know everything, but at the same time staying hungry to continue to learn and keep growing yourself. And that's whether, I mean, Vic, I think I flew out to your place at one point. I flew out to Tommy Mello's garage at one point. We visited, talking with Tommy, and this is within the first year of business. I think we flew out to Next Gen, and then we flew out to also Ghetto. Actually, I toured Arizona and Ghetto. With one Ken's manager we were there. But all I did, I was so hungry. I just wanted to see what it looked like to be there, because I realized if I got the vision to see it, I mean, I can get there.
Yeah, and it's important, right? Like, 'cause I still remember when I first started. So my first couple months, I had my business. I didn't have a contractor's license, so obviously everything that I was buying was cash, and I had to buy it out of the back door of my buddy's van. He'd buy. He was funny because it's my buddy Andrew Shen. He probably listened to this thing, and he's in my market, and we worked together at Service Champions, and he started his business, and I'm like, dude, if Andrew can figure it out, like I can figure it out. But when I started out, I had no license, so I had to buy from him. So I'd buy from him, and he came to me one day. He's like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? You're buying more equipment than I am. Like, I can't even keep up with the shit you're buying." Cause I'm like, he's like, I feel like I'm your drug dealer, and I'm just like freaking delivering you equipment all day. I'm like, whatever, we got to figure it out. And I still remember the first vendor I went to, and I'm telling them what I'm trying to do, and they're just like, "No, that's like, okay, like that sounds great, but like, no, that's not how this works." And I'm like, "You don't understand. I'm gonna buy a lot of shit. Like, one of you guys is gonna trust me, and one of you guys is gonna give me the opportunity. And when I get my license in a month or so, you're gonna be the vendor I use." And I still remember the other vendors like, "No, no, no." And then one of the vendors is like, "Hey, I have a way that you can start buying stuff, but it's under this license, and we'll figure it out, right?" So I was able to figure it out, and I started buying stuff from them under that license and pay it that way, so not to keep going to this guy's house every day. And then obviously it turned into that business making millions and millions and millions of dollars of me making millions of dollars of purchases from them because of the way they treated me at that time. So if you're a vendor listening to this, like some of these young guys, you just got to listen to them. But it's very difficult. I didn't have a bunch of cash starting my business. I didn't have a bunch of credit, same as you. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul. And like you said, and then you circle back, he said he invested everything, dude. Like I literally would invest everything. Like I had maxed out credit cards. I had employees that I'd borrow money from, hey, I need to borrow money for 7 days and to pay the payroll, and I'll pay you back, and all these things and all the stuff that I'm going to talk about in my book, and the struggles that you go through. And a lot of people think it's only them, but dude, it's Sam. I mean, this guy's freaking growing a business. How old are you, Sam?
26.
26 years old. He's about to have an $18 million business, right? Like you guys got to think about that, and you got to really think, like, what kind of sacrifice does it take to have, and what kind of dedication. And Sam, I still remember the first time you came out to California, and you had this like puppy dog look in your eye, man. Like you just wanted to learn. And It's very rare that most guys will be humble enough to say, "Hey, I don't know what I don't know, and I want to learn." And I think that's been the biggest turning point in my career, is I finally said, "Okay, I don't know everything," and I would just shut up and listen. And when I go into rooms now, like a lot of times I'm just listening to try to figure it out. And if you're doing that, and if you're listening to this podcast right now, really try to find those rooms, really try to put yourself out there, really try to get in front of those people, because once you see it, because nothing's possible until you know it's possible, right? Like you can't fathom being in $100 million house till you go to $100 million house. You're like, holy shit. And when you see these businesses, and the guys that are running them aren't different than me, you, and Sam, like they're just not, they're the same, right? So you're 26 years old. You got a business that's going to do $18 million this year, probably more, knowing you, because I think you like to undershoot yourself. And you got a growing business. You got a beautiful wife. Like, what is Sam's goal? Like, where do you envision yourself in a couple of years, man? Like, 3, 4, 5 years from now, where's Sam going to be?
So, I really I had developed this. So business became like its own language to me. It's like I treat business as, it's like if it's a person, you got to take care of it. And what I guess what I've developed even throughout this year, just learning, growing a business, is if I get the opportunity, or when I get the opportunity, I definitely want to invest into young business entrepreneurs. And that's definitely one of the whether that's through HVAC or other businesses. But I mean, my vision for the next 3-5 years is to really scale this company. Until then, you know what I mean? I want to have the walk with it, grow it, grow a company that's doing $50 million, well, that's multi-location. I want to do the work. and then, what doors that opens up, whether it's a sale or whatever sort that it goes that way. Definitely, take those big opportunities and do big things there. But that for now, like really focus to grow this, make it big.
Yeah, and obviously I talking to Sam, and Sam's one of the guys that said, "Hey, like you would jump in." Obviously, you guys know that I started the Ignite program to help contractors under 2 million, and he was one of the. I asked in my group chat, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll jump in." Like these guys, there's a lot of young guys like myself and Sam and Mario that I had on the podcast last week, and these guys that are willing to help people, man. Like I think that's the signature that's different from our generation to the last. I feel like before it was like, dude, I would, they were old school. It's like get the information and fucking hoard it to myself and not give anybody shit. Like I want to kick my competition's ass. And I feel like maybe it's with social media or whatever it is, but I feel like our generation's far more open to what's working, what's not working, and trying to help each other. Do you kind of feel the same way, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think to be transparent, Vic, without that, I wouldn't be where I'm at. It's because of these podcasts, these videos that I listen to, these books that I'm reading. I mean, dude, my first book, I remember, I'll be honest with you, I remember reading Tommy Mello's Home Service Millionaire book. I'm reading in my kitchen table while like trying to create estimates, and I'm reading it, and then there's a phone number to call for mentorship. And I called that number. I forget the guy, and he's like, "Oh, you're just starting out. You're a little too small yet for this kind of training." But I didn't even think about this stuff. I was that hungry. Like I just wanted to learn. So I think Vic, I think it takes us. This is you want to go, fast, go by yourself, but you want to go far, like you got to grow together. And like you will actually, I think it in the terms of winning years back. Like you're gonna learn it. Yeah, you're right. You're gonna learn it one way or the other. You can learn it yourself, trial and error, and hopefully don't run out of money, because that's usually when business fails. They tie up in cash. Or you can, reach out, humble yourself, right? And ask, hey, I need help. I'm struggling here, this and that. What would you do here? It's literally what I did. I mean, we're still doing it to this day. I'm still asking because I don't know. Like, I'm still learning to get to the next level. So I'm asking, what would you do here? It's the same thing. I think really the pride comes before the fall. If you're not humble enough to ask, like you're not going to be humble enough to receive. And honestly, you're limiting yourself, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree with all that stuff, man. It's and the crazy thing is there's a lot of people that'll help, man. There's I've been in, obviously growing my business fast. I've been in bad situations of, dude, like I remember like thinking I'm gonna go like shut in the doors and at one point I laid off a lot of people and I had to go through all that stuff, and it was humbling, right? Like even right now, like me and Sam were talking before this podcast, like, dude, like, growing like I've grown over the last couple of months is not easy, right? So, people don't realize the amount of cash it takes, right? If you're going to go hire 30 people and buy all these trucks and wrap them and upfit them. And then on top of that, like I'm dealing with my event and all the other money going out. So like, even for me now, like this is probably like the worst, shittiest time I've had in a long time, but it's also, it's like an unwavering belief in myself that like, if I can get through this and I can make this happen, like what's going to happen. And I'm such a, and same thing as probably you are, like, I'm such a forward, I'm like already living over here. Like I could see what's going to happen if I could do it, but it sucks. It sucks along the way. The fucking journey sometimes sucks. And I think that's, but that's part of the story, right? Like that's why, people listen to me and some other guy that might've grown slow is never going to get listened to, because sometimes it just takes people being fucking crazy and having big balls and making shit happen. Like a guy that was doing freaking like think about it, dude, 3 years ago, like today, you're pretty much doing commercial HVAC work and you decided to start a business that's gone. And now you're going to do 18 freaking million this year, man. Like that is insane. Like, think about it. Like, do you ever that's the other thing too. I'll ask you, and especially in our startup section here, is like, one of the biggest mistakes that I made growing this business is not slowing down and enjoying the little wins, dude. Like I was such a rush to get to 5 million that I didn't even think about the other shit. I was in such a rush to get to, 10, 15, 20 million that I didn't even enjoy the ride. Have you been able to enjoy the ride, or you just been kind of head down?
I'll tell you, Vic, up till December of this last year, it was just grind. But I'd say from December till now, it's been more or less, I've been focusing more on my team. I've been focused on more of the people that are going to help me get there versus the goal. because what at one point I learned is I was growing so far with because I view myself as a visionary. I was growing so far with the vision, which was growing. Like I want to do this, this, and this, but this is the team that's going to help get there. And if the gap was, the gap in there, which is communication, it's processes, different, the actual the journey, the work that gets there, it was growing. And what happened is it was starting to create burnout. So I learned or I should say I didn't learn, I'm learning right now, which can translate back to kind of enjoying the journey, but also being, grateful for where I'm at, looking at it, and then also like working together to hit the goal. So I definitely can say that the up to 10 million was just trying to push, sales. Now more, actually trying to produce more profit. I mean, it takes cash. At the end of the day, we want
and that's why I like this section, this segment and about the guys that are growing fast is like, because there's guys that have grown big businesses and the old school guys and like, oh, I built this big business, but they started with money, man. I enjoy listening to the guys that started like us with nothing, like just a fucking dream and a goddamn a credit card and a fucking can't quit attitude. Like, let's figure it out. And that's kind of like, and I think that's a little bit different. Like if I had someone that started with millions of dollars and he grew a business fast, like that's not that doesn't do it for me. But like what you've done, Mario's done, I've done, and some of these other guys that we're going to have on, man, it's like, dude, these are fucking bootstrap dudes. These are like everybody that's listening to this podcast. This could be you. And just everyone that's listening, like it's 100% possible if you want to bootstrap and you're willing to sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice 3 to 5 years of your life to have to live the life of your dreams? And if you're not willing to do that, then you're going to sit on the sidelines and probably point fingers at the guy that did it. But the guy that did it literally gambled his entire livelihood. I gambled everything I have to my name, dude. I had everything to make this happen, to make my dream happen. And I think that, if you guys are willing to do that, then you deserve the fruits of your labor, man. You deserve what you're going to get on the other end of it. But Sam, everything on these podcasts, there's one question I'm going to ask is like, if you were to go back from day one, what would you tell yourself?
Some things I would tell myself is learn to actually listen. Listen, and listening is not just by ears, it's also listening and like what you're seeing. There's a lot that can be communicated within your team, the people that you're growing. And usually when it's something very noisy, if they're angry or anything, that's usually a byproduct of something else that already took place that stirred them up, that make them blow up, because your team is what's going to take you there. And what happened is I wish I think I had a lot of too much confidence. I thought I knew what I was doing, which I was. I mean, I was reinvesting, but at one point I was over leveraging and not bringing enough return on my cash. Therefore, put me in difficult situations to try to figure out how to get out of it. Which I got out of it because that was my mindset. But knowing what I know now, like I'm realizing sometimes I'm trying to speed up, but sometimes you got to speed, wait a little bit at a level, and then you shoot up. Versus just this level of trying to go, and I'm actually going down. And that's what I felt like. I honestly, Victor, can say what I know now. I bet I could do it a little faster, and that's kind of where I'm trying to get to, is like realizing and being self-aware of the people, myself, and the reality of the life of the business. What's the business doing? What's the business talking to me? What's it telling me to do? What area needs a little bit of attention right now? That's what I'd probably a little more focus, not emotional focus, but like logical focus of what's going on.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with me, man. Like I've paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in mistakes at this point, and it's like, and it kind of sucks. And I think about it. Sometimes I think about it, and it's like, fuck, dude. Like if I was to start over, like, dude, I wouldn't even I would literally obliterate I would have kicked my own ass. Like it wouldn't even be close. But you can't go back. You can't, like it's I'm paying for an education, right? You got to learn along the way. And the main thing is, not making the same mistake twice and making sure that you learn from it. I've had to learn a lot of lessons. Like my business story is a little bit crazy. And I'm doing it simultaneously in front of the world and doing all this other stuff it's been interesting to say the least. man, it's also very humbling, right? So you have to, like, when you put yourself out there, you also gotta make sure you don't miss, because they're coming to shoot your ass. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of part of the deal that I got to deal with. And I'm sure, same thing with you, man. You probably have a target on your back in your neighborhood too. Like, people are like, who are these guys? Or they're growing, they're taking our customers, and you get that kind of stuff. So, man, like I said, I've been, even I still remember flying out to Vegas on that jet, not last year, the year before, and just thinking, like, man, this kid's got something special. He just has to make it happen at this point. It seems like that's kind of where you're at now, man. You're ready to make something happen, become, create something special. So I'm excited to see your growth. I'm excited to see where you are 2 years from now. Year 5, I just think, like, by then you're just going to be a freaking beast, man. It seems like you're getting better every day. So just want to say thanks for coming on, Sam. You got a great story. If anybody wants to reach out to Sam, have any questions, what's the best way to reach you?
You could just find me on Facebook. Just my name, Sam Matsuk. Or you can on Instagram as well, Matsuk Sam. Just DM me, and then I can, if need be, we'll share contact, exchange, and go from there.
Awesome, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed episode number 16. I enjoyed it. Obviously, hearing the story of a young hustler like Sam just gets me motivated, and I hope it motivates you guys. And this series is going to continue. We got a bunch of guys that have started some great businesses in different pockets of the country and grown them fast and grown them profitably. And the next guy up is someone that actually sold his within 4-year period, went and sold it for over $30 million. So I'm excited. Hope you guys enjoy the next episode. Sam, thanks again for coming on, brother.
Thanks, Vic.